What is up, people of the internet? The Ninja Nick 333 back yet again. We're doing the first streamed round. I believe this is round 3 of the San Diego Pokemon Regional Championships in the trading card game. We've got Israel Sosa here on the left. I'm blocking his name, I apologize. And Makani Tran on the other side. Looks like it is a Hisuian Goodra Lost Zone deck. So normally the Hisuian Goodra is paired with Arceus V-Star, and it plays a lot like the Duraludon decks, where you just go in with Arceus V-Star to charge up the Goodra. So maybe this is some sort of Palkia deck. Looks like it's some sort of Arceus deck, actually, on the right side. Arceus with Water Energy, maybe Arceus and Talion. That deck isn't very good anymore, so I would be surprised if a deck like that is 2-0 at this tournament. We see the Radiant Greninja start. Luckily, Israel Sosa does start with the Battle VIP Pass. He does have one in his early prize cards, as we could see. So it's good that he was able to get that out. Usually the Lost Box type decks only really need one Battle VIP Pass to get going. But if you don't get that first Battle VIP Pass, it becomes pretty tough to get going. We saw the concealed cards from Greninja getting rid of a Metal Energy. Comfy does his flower selecting, or will be doing his flower selecting. He's not doing that quite yet. We've got the Capture Energy coming down on the Goodra, not only fulfilling the colorless energy cost on him, but also getting out a second Comfy. Usually 2 Comfy is all you need. Most of the time I would Battle VIP Pass for 2 Comfy. But he had the Capture Energy already in hand for that Goodra, so that is the perfect play for the perfect setup on Israel's side. We've got Scoop Up Net, able to potentially reutilize this second Comfy again, and we do see that. So we have 2 Comfy that are cycling, but this is the 3rd time we're able to use an ability. Gets rid of that big Parasol. You don't need that against any sort of Arceus deck. And we see a switch as well, so that's 4 Comfy abilities with only 2 Comfies, and it looks like that is another big Parasol in his Lost Zone as well. Definitely not going to be needing that at all. We see Hisuian Heavy Ball on Makani's side. I don't believe he prized any Pokemon, but it does give him the knowledge of what's in his prize cards. So this is a great time. If you're playing a card like Hisuian Heavy Ball or Peonia, I would highly recommend keeping notes. I think you should be, technically you should be keeping notes either way, but the only way I can really successfully identify my prize cards personally is if I see them. So if I'm playing a deck that plays Hisuian Heavy Ball like Reggie, I will be bringing my notepad in order to write down my prize cards. Otherwise, I usually don't bother with notes. But if I'm playing something like Mewtwo Control, I've got like Peonia, and I can even reset what my prize cards are. It's pretty perfect to have notes, especially in a deck like a control deck. You definitely 100% need a notepad in that. Looks like he's Makani is also playing Empoleon in his deck. That's why the Water Energy is in there. So that is actually perfect against a Lost Zone oriented deck like Israel's. We're gonna see that being able to shut off all the abilities of basic Pokemon that Israel has that are not rule box Pokemon. So that's essentially the Comfies and the Cramorants. Marnie as well, putting Sosa to a low hand size. He could potentially brick off of that. Looks like I think he gets his own Marnie. Yeah, he does get his own Marnie. Air Balloon to the Arceus, and he had the double turbo energy. Most of the time with these Arceus decks, if you're going second, well, either way, if you're going first or second, you always want energy attachment on your first turn. But if you're going second, you specifically want double turbo so you can Trinity charge with the Arceus and get your second attacker powered up. That is usually what you want to go for with the Arceus decks, but it looks like he's prioritizing the ability lock of the Empoleon. I'm not sure if I completely agree with that. I think giving your opponent maybe one more turn of the Comfies is fine, especially after you just Marnied him for 4, just to get the Empoleon set up with a bunch of energies to be able to continuously attack with it. But maybe because Sosa has that Goodra, you want to block him from being able to go for the Mirage Gate play. So maybe he'll get more value out of the Empoleon just having it sit there. It's also important to note that double turbo energy does fulfill the 2 colorless attack cost on the Swirling Slice, and 110 after being reduced from 130 by 20 with the double turbo is still enough to knock out a Cramorant. We did see Sosa forgot about the ability on Empoleon and tried to attack with Cramorant, but Cramorant's ability is shut off. He needs 2 water and a colorless to attack with Spit innocently, so that is not happening. Makani, on his side, he's got Arceus V-Star in play now. He is using that Star Birth right now. Looks like he gets a... I want to say that was a Psychic Energy and something else. I can't really quite tell what that was. It's also important to note that Sosa did put the Temple of Sinnoh in play, so that double turbo energy is actually not doing the -20, but it's also not doing the double colorless. So it's only giving 1 energy right now. So Makani's going to want to have a replacement stadium, and that is probably his other card that he searched for, is that Collapse Stadium. So that does also limit Sosa's bench there, so that may be important. Also gets the boss up on the Goodra, so he can get the first attack onto that. That will be important, because the Goodra will be able to reduce any damage it takes by 80 once it's able to use its attack. So by being able to just hit into that right now, that'll be better for the math. So it looks like Boss's Orders comes out from Sosa. I believe he must have top decked that, because I don't think he had that in his hand previously. It was just a couple water energy, really. Now he's able to go in with the Comfy. He did hard retreat that Goodra, so he's not in a very good position for that right now. But if he's got Mirage Gate, he's getting close to Mirage Gate range. He does have 5 in the Lost Zone. All he needs is a Chorus's Experiment, but I do believe one of those did go to the bottom of the deck from the Marnie. Also important to note, Makani does have the Espeon V in play, so that'll become an Espeon V Max in a future turn, protecting any Pokemon he has with an energy on it from Sableye. Sableye's effect of his attack doing damage counters will be prevented. We do see Makani was not able to move his Arceus V due to already committing the Air Balloon to the V-Star. So that Arceus V just gets that Psychic Energy he searched for previously and passes. He probably wanted to attach that to the Espeon, but just not in a good position right now for that. Escape Rope brings up the Empoleon, but he has another Boss's Orders in his hand to just move that yet again. So there's 2 ways that this turn is going. Either Sosa is preventing attacks to save himself time by putting the Espeon up that doesn't have any energy. I mean, he already committed an energy to the Arceus V, so now you're making him commit an energy to the Espeon V, and even if he does and retreats it, he won't be able to attack with anything on his next turn. But otherwise, if Sosa can get the double Mirage Gate off, he can, which he does, he is just going to be able to straight up knock out the Espeon with the Goodra. So that is actually pretty perfect here. We also see that the Goodra was healed as well. I missed what he healed it with, but it does not matter because that is fully healed. So he not only does he knock out the Espeon, takes 2 prizes, but now he's reducing the damage he's taking by 80. So this is a 3-shot from this Arceus V-Star because it's only doing 100 due to the double turbo and the -80 from Rolling Iron. So pretty great turn from Sosa. Surprising to see that essentially off of the Marnie from the previous turn, or couple turns previous. Looks like we do see the Arceus V-Star got that capture energy. He's gonna use the Trinity Nova and charge up an Aerodactyl V that was just benched. I believe the evolution, the Aerodactyl V-Star, that does 240. So let's see. He's got 100 on him. So that's 170 he has to do. So he's only doing 160 with the Aerodactyl if he does evolve it into the V-Star. So he'll be 10 short of knocking out this Goodra. So he might still have to just attack with another Trinity Nova on the next turn. We'll have to see. He could always just get another double turbo down on the Arceus V as well, and then evolve that into a V-Star and attack with that, and just like keep pivoting around his Pokemon so that Goodra doesn't knock anything out. Because once this one Goodra goes down, Israel's going to have to charge up a whole second one, and he doesn't even have a second Goodra in play right now. He has to read the Aerodactyl as well. I don't quite know what the regular Aerodactyl does, but I know the V-Star does 240. I don't think his V-Star attack is relevant, especially since Makani has already used his V-Star power for the game using the Starbirth. It looks like Makani does also play Hyper Potion. That is a crazy box deck that he's playing. I'm a little surprised that he's doing so well at 2-0 already, because usually decks like that are just not very consistent. I played Arceus Pikachu with Dark stuff during, what was it, Baltimore Regionals, and it just was not anywhere near consistent enough. And this man is playing even more energy colors than just the two. He's got Lightning Energy in there, so there's got to be Flying Pikachu in his deck or something as well. So that's crazy. Oh, it looks like the Aerodactyl can discard an energy. I guess his game plan right now is to just like get the energy off of the Goodra so it can't attack. Looks like Horus's Experiment comes out though, so I mean, Sosa might be able to dig for the energy now. Looks like he has one in hand from the Colress. So he is still going to be able to attack. I think that's a one-shot on that Aerodactyl as well. Is it? He's doing 200. Oh wow, that Aerodactyl has more than 200 HP on a basic? It's a little surprising. Well, I guess not. I mean, Arceus has like 220. I figured, I'm still thinking like old EX HPs. Looks like it has 210. So yeah, 10 short. So that's pretty unfortunate. But since he was able to get that Espeon out of play, this Aerodactyl really only needs 10 damage as long as Makani does not get to his V-Star. Sosa does need... Looks like his Lost Zone says it's at 7. I want to say it's at more than that, but maybe it is at 7. No, it's at 9. Because he put 2 more in the Lost Zone with the Chorus on the last turn. Because he Mirage Gated the previous turn at 7. So the Lost Zone count here at the top of the screen is actually incorrect. He's at 9. He only needs 1 more to be able to attack with Sableye. But it looks like we see a double turbo attach and a Hyper Potion with the Aerodactyl, and it is going to Lost Zone the top 3 cards of Makani's deck by doing 240 like that, and that is it's pretty good. Also, the 40 damage was relevant too from the previous attack on with the regular Aerodactyl, so that's actually excellent play for Makani. I'm honestly surprised that the Aerodactyl does that well. You wouldn't think that the Aerodactyl is good for anything other than its V-Star attack that then becomes an ability, which seems really bad, but if you can get it off against Lugia before it can use its V-Star power, you just 100-0 that matchup. So that's why you play that. That is an easy Lost Zone of the Battle VIP pass from Sosa. You do not want to see that any turn but turn 1. So getting that in the Lost Zone is perfect. Looks like we're just going to be seeing an attack with Cram right here. We don't have another... It looks like he has I think the Goodra V-Star in his hand, but definitely does not have access to the basic Goodra. So... It's funny, Sosa was in such a commanding lead with the Goodra in play, but once that Goodra went out of play, now he has nothing. If he had something like a Choice Belt, was able to put that on the Goodra and one-shot the Aerodactyl, when it was a basic, that would have been perfect. This would have been Sosa's game to win, but unfortunately the tides are quickly turning in Makani's favor. Looks like we get the quick ball discarding the Flying Pikachu VMAX, so he is playing all of that in the same deck. Gets the Drapion just to Marnie it to the bottom of his deck. He doesn't want to see that in the 5 cards that he's drawing off of the Marnie now, so might as well use the quick ball to search out a card that you don't want to see in your hand to make sure you don't see it in your hand. Of course, conserving the quick ball could have been good there, but he's got so many potential attackers in play already. He doesn't really need anything else for the rest of the game. And we do see the Swirling Slice with the Empoleon, so he's also ability locking Sosa yet again. And I think at this point, even though Makani still has 3 prize cards left, I think that he's essentially won the game already. The only way Sosa can come back is if he gets a Goodra into play this turn and Mirage Gates to it, but he's already used at least 2 Mirage Gates. So, and I do believe that 1 is in his top 2 prize cards, if I remember correctly, as well. So he only really has access to 1. So it's going to be a lot harder to get this Goodra powered up if he only has 1 of those. And, well, we see it, though. He did Ordinary Rod in some energy as well, so we are going to be able to see that being used. So I don't know why you're still keeping track. It does not matter. Once you hit 10, I just stop keeping track of the lost zone count completely. Yeah, it looks like we're at 14 now. And then just a pass. Sosa does not have any follow-up. It looks like he did not see the basic Goodra V. So, yeah, at this point, I don't know what he can do to beat Makani. That is so crazy how it just went off like that. It looks like he searches, Makani searches that, the Drapion out again just to be able to discard it with the Ultra Ball. So he's perfectly thinning his deck as he can. Once you get to a game state like this, you want to be able to use your balls. I mean, he's got 4 attackers in play already, right? So you don't need any other Pokemon, especially since he already benched a Crobat. He has a full bench. He's not going to be able to. He's not going to be able to really utilize any other Crobats or Luminions, most likely, in this game. And holy crap, he brought up the. He's playing Sharon's Care as well. I don't know how he has room for all of that in that deck and is able to draw everything the way he needs to. That is absolutely immaculate how he's drawing with Arceus. I'm surprised. But he got the Sharon's Care, was able to essentially heal off that entire Arceus V-Star, and then re-benches the Arceus V, puts up the other one that's fully healed. He's able to recycle the Air Balloon as well. He's able to put that on the Empoleon. And yeah, so since he's able to heal that damage off, it's going to be a lot harder for Sosa to take his last 2 prize cards. But he does have the boss's orders to bring up that Aerodactyl V-Star and is able to take at least 2 more. Leaving that last Mirage Gate still in his deck, though. So how is Sosa going to take his last 2 prize cards is the real question here. Especially, how is he going to take it before Makani takes 2 prize cards? Because he has some pretty easy knockouts on the board. He can knock out any of those 3 Pokemon with pretty much any of his Pokemon in play. The Empoleon can knock out either the Comfey or the Cramorant. And then the Arceus V-Star in play can knock out the Radiant Greninja as well. So, since he has the energy to pivot, basically at this point the only way that Sosa can win is if he bosses again and brings up like the Arceus V-Star that doesn't have any energy on it, and hope that Makani can just sit there and deck out. Like, that's Sosa's win condition at this point. But I believe he's played 3 bosses orders now, it looks like. So what's the likelihood that his deck plays 4 boss? I don't think that's very likely. Also, look at that deck thinning for Makani. He's got like maybe 1 or 2 cards left in deck. And the Swirling Slice off of that Empoleon as well starts charging up that other Arceus V. This is, yeah, Makani's just won this at this point. At this point, you just scoop, you go to the next game. Don't even bother playing out the last turn. Save the time on the clock. You already played 19 and a half minutes for game 1. You definitely need to do more. Yeah, I mean, putting the Goodra up is... Yeah, okay, so yeah, if he has the last boss in deck, he can Mirage Gate onto this Goodra, attach for turn, and the next turn boss's orders, and evolve to the Hisuian Goodra, boss up that Crobat, and knock it out. That is literally the only way that Sosa can win right now, that I can see at least. We do have a Capture Energy. Looks like he's not going to use that. He probably has all the Pokemon, all the basic Pokemon that he has in his deck actually in his hand right now. This does allow him to potentially live one more turn if Mikani doesn't have the boss's orders on this turn. But, I mean, he's asking for a lot. He has to play 4 boss's orders in order to be able to win game 1 here. So I think that basically by doing that, you're telegraphing the fact that you play 4 boss's orders by not scooping yet. Yeah, and it looks like he just switches into the Arceus V-Star, uses the Trinity Nova, and hits the Goodra real hard. Now, do we see Mirage Gate boss evolve? Because that's the only way, and we don't. So, not sure why Sosa played that last turn out, if he doesn't have the 4 boss. But, yeah, Mikani kind of cleanly takes that first game. Again, Sosa was winning so early when he had the first Goodra, but he just was not able to find a backup one by the time the first one got knocked out. And that's the whole thing. The Lost Box deck does not necessarily do that well against Arceus decks. Arceus decks aren't really very meta relevant right now, so I don't think that, you know, Sosa was too worried about it. Especially one that plays all of those weird techs. I mean, on paper, this is Mikani's match to win, right? Because he can just use the Flying Pikachu to stop Cramorants. He can use the Empoleon to stop pretty much everything in Lost Box. He can use the Espeon to stop the Sableye. It's just kind of crazy. The Arceus is there for consistency and just one-shotting anything that isn't named Goodra. Energy accelerating to any of the other Pokemon that he has, including the Empoleon. So, but if Sosa can just do what he did game 1, but get a second Goodra into play, before Mikani takes enough prize cards, I mean, I think that's very doable for him. Especially with how we saw game 1 go. So as long as that one little difference happens, that is the problem with playing the Lost Zone engine decks. Sometimes is it feels like there's less search and more like essentially draw, because you're relying on things like the Chorus's Experiment to get into your stuff. So looks like Sosa's prize cards are faced out upside down yet again, so the judges are just fixing that. But yeah, we've got one Hisuian Goodra prized, so, and another Battle VIP prized, so I'm not sure if Sosa's going to be able to do it. I mean, even if he wins a game, right? We're already over 20 minutes into the match. So are they going to be able to complete games 2 and game 3? I don't think so. Yeah, they're like 24 minutes into the match now. So Sosa goes first, starts a Battle VIP pass in his hand yet again. Doesn't care that his 1 is prized, he's just going to start with it anyway. So again, we're probably going to see another Comfey and maybe a Goodra, or we're going to see Comfey and Radiant Greninja. Would be pretty good too, but it looks like, yeah, he's prioritizing getting the Goodra out. I'm wondering what his Goodra line actually is, if it's like 2-2 or 3-2 or 3-3. We're already seeing the V-Star in his hand. I would assume that since he has to Lost Zone stuff to get going, he's probably playing a 3-3 line. But with how difficult it was to get that basic Goodra V in play the first game, maybe he only plays a 2-2 line. Not quite sure. But we're seeing the comfy abilities going. He's able to get at least 3 comfy abilities off with his 2 comfies by using Scoop Up Net, I believe. I did miss it. But he has 2 in the Lost Zone already, turn 1. That's 3 now. Oh, Radiant Greninja in the Lost Zone isn't ideal, because that is a good way to draw into more cards, make sure you can more consistently get into that Goodra stuff. It looks like we see the Aerodactyl coming straight down, double turbo onto the Arceus V. So again, as I said in game 1, if you're going second as an Arceus V player, you want to start Arceus and you want to have that double turbo attach and you want a Trinity charge. Makani did not do that his first game, but it looks like he may be doing that this game. The other thing he could be doing is looking for his Empoleon. I kind of didn't really look at his prize cards to see if he prized the Empoleon or not. But if he did prize Empoleon, maybe he's not going to go for that. I mean, plus he already has the setup to get the Trinity charge off, so maybe just deciding not to go for the Empoleon now. Looks like his hand might be a little dead, so he is, yeah, he is going for the Luminion for the Marnie. Yeah, so he is going to Marnie the 2 cards that are left in his hand away. Yeah, because if you get Empoleon, but your 2-card hand is super dead, it's not worth getting the Empoleon out. So getting the Luminion is better. Plus, you could always charge up the Luminion and then shuffle it back into the deck and then charge up a different guy with the same energies you had on the Luminion. So it's actually kind of cool that the water energies can be used for both the Luminion and the Empoleon. So makes it a little bit more synergistic. I would almost argue that playing an additional copy of Luminion would be better than playing that Crobat that we saw in game 1. For that reason alone, that you can just attack with it like that. It looks like he might be going for the Trinity charge onto 3 Pokemon, but it looks like, nah, he's just going to charge up that Espeon. Extremely unlikely that Espeon will be able to be knocked out this turn. He would need a lot of cards in that Lost Zone along with the Goodra evolution in order to have that happen. Battle VIP Pass just where it belongs in the Lost Zone. That is perfect. I also like that he did charge up that Luminion. That is 1 double turbo away from doing an attack with that. So yeah, that is perfect. You have 2 potential attackers set up the next turn. Especially if he gets the V-Star, he can Starbirth again and just get whatever he wants to attack with whatever Pokemon he wants. The only thing is that he didn't get Empoleon, so. You see the comfy rotation coming through, selecting all the flowers that they possibly can select. We're up to 8 in the Lost Zone now. We're getting there. That is enough to do Mirage Gate plays. So, do we see the V-Star? Do we see... Yeah, it looks like, not yet. I don't think we have the V-Star and the Mirage Gate yet. V-Star Mirage Gate switch card is what you want here in order to be able to attack with Goodra this turn. We see the Parasol coming down on that Goodra. I don't think that's going to do much of anything. I guess it would prevent the Aerodactyl V from doing the discarding of energy, so that's pretty decent. But other than that, I think Choice Belt would be better here if Sosa even plays that. I don't think he does, because we didn't see it at all in Game 1, and his deck got super thin. And it looks like that's it. He's just going to go for the pass. So Makani's going to be able to likely evolve into a V-Star this turn, use Starbirth, and then Trinity Nova, and then get a whole bunch of energy into play. And this is quickly going downhill for Sosa. He might actually get 2-0'd here by Makani. See, quick balling away a Psychic Energy. I think that telegraphs that he has yet another energy in his hand. because you wouldn't want to discard an energy if you're one energy attachment away from attacking with either Arceus V-Star or the Espeon V-Max. So looks like we get the Pumpkaboo in play. Oh, that I completely missed that the Temple of Sinnoh was in play as well. So immediately goes for that Pumpkaboo with the Quick Ball to make sure that the double turbo energy is live instead of being one colorless energy cost. Oh, and we see a second double turbo energy as well. So that Arceus's damage is being reduced by a lot, but I don't think it's going to matter this game. He's going to be able to knock out that Comfey either way. He does not even need to really Starbirth at this point, especially with that Ultra Ball. He's likely going to be able to go for the Espeon V Max. I think that's what he's eyeing up right now. I think that's what's at the bottom of his deck there. And that is... So, yep, so everything with energy attached to it is now protected from the Sableye, so Sosa has to read that as well. I don't even think we saw a Sableye at all from Sosa Game 1, so I'm not even sure if he's playing that either. But, you know, Makani doesn't know that, and it's safer to just have it in play. Looks like the Aerodactyl V-Star is in the prizes as well for Makani. So we see the capture energy come down on the Goodra. That is enough to have it fully charged up to be able to attack now. But again, I think it's kind of already too late. Makani has too many attackers charged up. He's got too much HP for this one Goodra to be doing much of anything for him. It is just a very bad matchup for Sosa. Looks like we're getting rid of a Mirage Gate with that Chorus, so I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see a second Goodra get set up. He definitely doesn't need it this turn, but it would be really great to see it the next turn. So the thing with the Temple of Sinnoh here is I actually disagree with putting that into play now, because that actually stops the 40 damage reduction from these double turbo energies. Makani does now need one more energy attach for the Arceus to be able to attack, but he's also doing plus 40 damage now, essentially. But doesn't matter either way. Makani has the Sharon's Care, and this game is quickly getting out of hand. Yes, I think this individual game is more of a steamroll. We have the fully charged up Espeon V Max being able to go in. It does 60 damage for each energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. So since he has 3, he's doing... there's 3 in play, all of them on the Goodra, so that's what, 180? No, 6. Yeah, 180, so 160 it should be. No. He's reducing by 80, so he's doing 100. Yeah, so that math's right. I'm like thinking double turbo math for some reason. I don't know why. We do see yet another Chorus's experiment. Now the problem is Sosa really wants to set up another Goodra probably here, because his Goodra might get, unless he has a healing card, this Goodra could potentially get knocked out on the next turn if something strong enough attacks. But actually no, I don't think that the Goodra, I don't think there's any way, if he doesn't put any more energy in play, this Goodra I don't think will be able to be knocked out unless Makani plays Choice Belt. But again, you saw like basically his whole deck the last game. I don't think Makani is playing Choice Belt. So if I were Sosa, I would be fine just leaving the one Goodra in play, but I would need it in play the next Goodra in play the next turn. Because you don't want to bench a Goodra now and then Mirage Gate to it and then give the Espeon enough additional damage to be able to knock out your first Goodra. Let this one live one more hit and then start charging up the next Goodra. So we see the V-Star come down yet again. We are finally seeing the Starbirth, it looks like. Searching for any 2 cards. We also see there's that same Temple of Sinnoh is still in play. Makani wasn't able to replace it before, so he might be going for that Collapse Stadium again. He could always bench literally anything. and then put the Collapse Stadium down to discard the Aerodactyl that is not doing anything for him this game since the V-Star is prized. Yeah, it looks like he is quick balling for something. We see the Collapse Stadium in hand, so I do believe he searched for that. Looks like he is going for the Empoleon now. So by getting the Empoleon in play, as long as he has at least one water energy in his deck, he can just charge that up with the Arceus. I'm not sure what the retreat cost on the Espeon VMAX is. I want to say it's 1, but it could be 2. And there is that Collapse Stadium. Looks like he's going for the discard of the Pumpkaboo. I think that's fine. Maybe he wants the Aerodactyl as an option, but that's like 5 attackers you're trying to charge up at that point. And looks like he continues attacking with the Espeon VMAX as well. He did do the attach a double turbo Hyper Potion play to heal a ton of damage off of that. So it's to the point where Sosa doesn't know what to do. Did Makani not attack last turn, or did Sosa have a healing card? I completely missed that as well. I apologize. I'm kind of tired if I'm not doing my commentary correctly here. See, capture energy in hand. He's thinking about attaching that. We have double turbo as well. The thing is, does he really want to commit the second double turbo to this Arceus that's just going to go down on the next turn? Goodra is doing the minus 80. So that's only doing 100. So Sosa is attempting to bring this back. I still feel like that yeah, forgetting about his own Collapse Stadium there. I'm like, what is it? Why is he thinking about benching that? He doesn't have bench space. Yeah, he has a plethora of different attacking options. Like, I still want that Aerodactyl V off of his bench as well, because then that would leave room for him to bench that Arceus as well. But we just do the 100. Look, I don't think he attached any energy with that, so he might be out of basic energy in deck. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't just start charging up the Empoleon or even the Luminion, getting that out of play to make room for that other Arceus V. But since the Arceus V star is down, the Arceus V can come back to play. So we just see the retreat of the Empoleon into the Espeon VMAX. He's just going to hit for another 100. And another 200 back at him. Just keeps reducing this damage by 80. So the Espeon VMAX can just take the knockout on the Goodra this turn. Makani goes down to 3 prize cards remaining to Sosa's 4. And he doesn't have another Goodra set up. So like I was saying before, the turn where he would want to bench the second Goodra was this previous turn. Because he has 200 damage on him, he's definitely getting knocked out in the upcoming turn. So you want to make sure you have a second Goodra set up to go then. Usually you only want the one Goodra in play, because you don't want the second one getting targeted by a boss's orders or a Serena. To get around that minus 80, but still be hitting something that gives 2 prizes. We see Switch going back into the Empoleon that has the air balloon, so he can decide to retreat into something different later. I think he's deciding whether or not he wants to attach the double turbo before he uses the Professor's Research, and that's exactly what he does. I wouldn't have been too opposed to attaching that double turbo to the Espeon VMAX and then healing it with that Hyper Potion that he ended up discarding with the Research, but it's probably better to just get another attacker set up, because right now The only thing that has enough energy in play to attack is that Espeon VMAX. So we want to make sure that there is something that has the potential to attack on the next turn if that Espeon goes down. He does take those 2 prize cards. The only Hisuian Goodra V in play is gone. And it looks like we're going to see an Ordinary Rod putting back in the Goodra line and 2 energy. Yeah, Sosa might only be playing a 2-2 line, so it looks like it is bad that he is prizing that Goodra V. We do see the capture energy going on the Cramorant to immediately get that Goodra V back. So that's awesome that he basically just recycles it straight out of the discard that way. I'm going to use the Comfey, get Marnie in your Lost Zone. I'm not sure how many cards Makani has in hand, so I'm not sure if using that Marnie there instead would have been better. But Sosa does have a big hand. He doesn't really want to be Marnieing himself, but there he goes, Marnieing himself. He already had one, that's why he Lost Zoned one. It's pretty unfortunate when you have to Marnie yourself when you have a hand that size, especially in like a Lost Box deck, because the Lost Box deck generally operates on having a large hand size. So if you get Marnied and your hand size goes down, that's a lot of Comfeys and Colress's experiments that you have to use to rebuild that hand size back up again. Looks like double Mirage Gates gets 2 water energies on the Goodra V. He has 2 metal energies in his hand, so he probably doesn't have any left in deck. I know he did Ordinary Rod at least 1 metal energy into deck. So the fact that he did draw 2 instead of 1, and oh, he has 3 in hand. I think he just took 1 off his prize cards as well. That's pretty rough. I think they're discussing something with the judges about the Espeon VMAX. Oh, Sosa took 1 too few prize cards. Because it's a VMAX. That's actually kind of funny. So Sosa really only needs 1 more prize card, so I'm actually surprised that he's been able to pull this game back. This is looking like a tie now. Yeah, I think Sosa was the underdog this match, and game 1 was actually his game to win, and game 2 isn't, but it's playing out the complete opposite. And it's just kind of funny that Pokemon can work that way, especially in a format without any sort of comeback mechanic like N. I mean, you have Roxanne, but Roxanne is super situational. You could only use it late game. You can't use it at any point in the game. But, you know, sometimes you can Marnie and it does do good for you. Sosa had to Marnie his giant hand away in order to draw 4 cards, and it just happened to have a couple of cards that he needed, 2 Mirage Gates. And even though they only got 2 water energies, 1 water energy each, I mean, at least he's able to do something. So this, he's going to be rolling that iron. He just needs to knock out literally any single one of Makani's Pokemon now. And I think he can one-shot the Flying Pikachu as well. So I don't think Makani knows what to do right now. I think he was about to retreat. Oh, is there a judge call or something? I'm not sure what's going on here. But, if Sosa gets like a double prize card penalty for not taking one of those prize cards, that's actually really stupid. That's actually ridiculous. Because that's not a mistake that would help him at all. Oh yeah, and Makani decides not to... I guess Makani decided not to retreat for some reason, and then just let Sosa take that game. So... I think Sosa was going to win that game either way, but I think Makani just kind of choked that last turn by not retreating. I think he said pass and then tried to retreat, and I think that's what the judge call was about. So yeah, I think either way, Sosa won that game, but they have 6 minutes left to go into game 3, and that's not finishing. So this game is basically already considered a tie. Also, Makani is pile stacking for some reason, so we're gonna fast forward if we can. Sometimes YouTube hates it when I fast forward. Looks like Empoleon's prize. That's pretty relevant for Makani. Looks like a double Mirage Gate for Sosa as well. Along with yet another one Battle VIP pass. So this will be the first game where Makani's actually going first. He did win the die roll, so he was able to go... he was able to go... so Sosa was able to go first the first game, and then since Sosa lost, he was able to go first the second game by choice, so... A little funny how that works. We get Air Balloon onto Arceus. We just see a Quick Ball getting rid of an Ultra Ball to get the Aerodactyl. And then an Ultra Ball discarding only one card on the Luminion. And he's discarding a Marnie as well. I mean, technically he did look at his deck for the second Ultra Ball, but he never shuffled for the first, so I guess that's not a warning or anything. If he had shuffled the deck for the first Ultra Ball and then looked at his deck for that second Ultra Ball, only discarding one card, I think that might have been a warning or a DPL. But, I mean, who would call their opponent on something stupid like that, though? We see the Crobat to draw some cards. Again, personally would have preferred that to be a Luminion since he's not playing Dark Energy. He's already playing the Water Energy, he can attack with the Luminion. Might as well play 2 Luminion. But I guess there are times when you want a Crobat and Luminion in the same turn, because especially with this deck, Arceus is super inconsistent. I always have trouble getting Arceus decks to set up, and if you're playing 3 different colors of energy with like 5 different attackers, like, come on. I guess you do need the Crobat and the Luminion just to get some steam rolling, which is funny because the Goodra is supposed to be rolling that iron. Looks like he does decide to attach the double turbo energy to his benched Arceus, but does decide to keep the Empoleon active. I think the fact that he can just kind of attack easily with the Empoleon in this deck by being able to do it with 2 hard attaches actually does make the Empoleon even better in this deck. Yeah, Makani definitely teched his deck out for the format, but I'm not sure how well that's going to do for him if his deck just has so many different cards in it. I would never be able to draw what I need when I need it. That Temple of Sinnoh does come into play yet again, so that is messing up with Makani's energy attaching math. That double turbo energy doesn't do the -20 anymore, but it also only provides 1 energy yet again, so... We're going to have to see a replacement stadium off of that Starbirth, most likely, in order to attack with that. But, he could always just play it slow and, leave that Empoleon active. But again, 1 minute left on the timer. So, personally, it is better to just leave the Empoleon active. Because that does slow Sosa down and make sure that neither of you can win. But, I mean, neither of you were going to win either way, so... Time rules are so unfortunate in this game. It definitely should be by prizes. Ties shouldn't be as common. I think IDs are fine, but I think the unintentional draws, just the way that the format is, it's just not... You're not able to play 3 full games of Pokemon with all of the actions that you have to do. Maybe it was fine in like base set format where it was like attach 1 energy, use energy removal, attack and pass. Like... You weren't searching your deck 3 times in a turn. You weren't using flower selecting 5 times in a turn. You know what I mean? So, you weren't drawing 4 different times with Genesect every turn. So it's just unfortunate that Pokemon hasn't updated the time rules. Looks like time is called, and both players know that there's no way that Game 3 can finish, so it's a tie. And that is it for this round. That's round 3 of San Diego Regional Championships. I will see you guys next time for the next round.